Hello, my name is Cary. I'm a student who is interested in education and technology, specifically education technology,
or EdTech. I'm also interested in Mexico. During summer of 2014, I spent 3 months in Mexico City investigating Mexican EdTech efforts. I maintained a blog named Detective where I published articles about my research and interviews.
I also made this documentary.
Mexico is a big country. By population and GDP, it's the 11th largest in the world. There are 35.3 million students in Mexico, which constitute 30.1% of its total population. Of those students, the majority, about 73.4%, are in elementary and middle school. The point is that Mexico has a ton of young students. On a whole, the country's population is also pretty young, with a low median age of 26. As Mexico's young learners move through the education pipeline, its education system is going to grow. A lot.
To scale education and to make it relevant for new generations, you need internet.
Last year, to support internet and digital infrastructure efforts in Mexico, Mexican President Peña Nieto launched the National Digital Strategy. One of my first summer interviews was with Jorge Soto, a Mexican entrepreneur and coordinator of President Nieto's National Digital Strategy.
What we're focusing on is in strategies around civic innovation and around civic engagement and open data and open government.
Jorge is working with tech entrepreneurs to re-envision not only the country's digital infrastructure, but how the Mexican government interacts with technology and the public.
So what we're trying to do in all our projects is to see the government, to see ourselves not as the problem solver, but to see ourselves as a node in this ecosystem when the government should be the one that is encouraging and fostering problem solvers to flourish. So we don't want to solve all the problems. We want to empower citizens, we want to empower NGOs, we want to empower academia and entrepreneurs so they can help us solving the problems. Because if we empower them, if they engage in these projects, then new solutions, new innovations that we can think of will come up.
Open data and tech innovation could bring big change to a controversial subject in Mexican education: transparency.
The education sector has been a black hole for decades, and so to suddenly have information available on schools, on school principals, on who's in schools, what teachers are there, how much they're making, what their salaries are, that has opened up almost like a Pandora box of information.
That was Alexandra Zapata Ogel, coordinator of the education open data platform Mejora Tu Escuela.
IMCO, the Institute for Mexican Competitiveness, is the nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that launched Mejora Tu Escuela in mid-2013 with funds from social enterprises such as the Midyard Network.
Mejora Tu Escuela is an online platform that seeks to catalyze parent involvement in their child's education. What we hope is that as parents become more involved and as they have more information to be able to act on that and demand changes, reach out to authorities and get close and discuss the issues that need to be changed in their schools, the sooner we'll see changes.
By gathering together different government data sets, Mejora Tu Escuela was able to reveal some startling facts.
They discovered salaries that were being paid to teachers at over 1,900 schools that do not exist. They also found over 70 teachers that were somehow receiving higher wages than the President of Mexico.
While developing Mejora Tu Escuela, the IMCO team encountered some alarming social misconceptions.
What we found was that there was a huge rift between what parents think the quality of education their children are receiving and the actual quality of education.
Currently, the average years of schooling in Mexico is 8.6 years, meaning that the typical student will not finish middle school, which is grades 6 through 9. In fact, less than half of all Mexican students currently finish high school. By some estimates, the high school graduation rate is as low as 27%. Though these macro statistics are easy to Google, finding information about individual school performance was much more difficult before the existence of Mejora Tu Escuela.
All this information was, in a way, not accessible to parents because all the databases were spread out across the internet. A parent had to know exactly where to look, in what website to look, and they had to have a specific school code. And most of the time we'd see school principals that didn't want to give the parents the school code because they obviously didn't want parents with more information.
By bringing individual school scores and statistics together in an easily navigable online platform, Mejora Tu Escuela hopes to change school transparency and bring parents back into the education dialogue.
So the first step is for them to get to know their school. Check the basic facts, check the record of how the school has been doing over time, academically. We have a whole section on school infrastructure, and then we have a sort of Yelp for schools where any citizen can come in and leave a comment and a grade. And so those grades are also being used to enrich the platform because we have all these comments and perspectives that parents and other members of the school community are leaving on our platform.
A parent-powered educational Yelp is exciting, but open data can't help parents if they don't have an internet connection.
In 2012, only 25.9% of Mexican homes had internet. That figure is even worse for those living outside of cities, with only 2% of rural homes having access. And access just means that you can connect, not that your internet is fast or reliable. When it comes to promoting internet and technology access in Mexico, Innova and Foundation Pro Acceso are the star actors in their field. Innova is a social enterprise that creates education technology spaces and digital education content. Foundation Pro Acceso is their partner nonprofit that allies with different government and private organizations to fund and increase the impact of their and Innova's efforts. Together, they've created the award-winning Learning and Innovation Network, or RIA by its Spanish acronym. I visited a RIA center to learn firsthand about the project. I was greeted by Erika, a RIA instructor who talked to me about the purpose of the RIA and what she liked about the initiative.
La RIA es una fundación donde pretende cerrar la brecha digital, donde las personas pueden acercarse para aprender computación, aprender inglés y conocer todos los servicios que les ofrecemos. ¿Qué es lo que más me gusta? Me gusta que es una empresa donde puedo ayudar a mi comunidad, ayudar a todas las amas de casa, a los niños, a los señores adultos mayores que creen que ya esta tecnología no es para ellos, pero se acerca a ellos. Entonces, de una manera más accesible.
Sofia Camacho is the coordinator of public partnerships at Foundation Pro Acceso. Sofia acted as my guide during the visit, explaining to me the holistic EdTech vision of the foundation.
La Fundación Pro Acceso surge en el 2009 con la visión de crear una red de espacios educativos con tecnología, con el objetivo de que personas de todos los perfiles, sobre todo de comunidades de bajos recursos en México, puedan acceder a tecnología y a herramientas educativas de la mejor calidad.
The RIA is unique as an EdTech project in that it goes beyond the traditional calls of education. Each of the 70 RIA centers empowers its community with agency, acting as a nonpartisan institution that can advocate for local issues. Sofia sees technology as having a similar empowering effect.
Me llama mucho la atención ver cómo la tecnología es finalmente una herramienta a partir de la cual las personas pueden expresarse, pueden expresar los problemas que hay en sus comunidades y asimismo buscar las formas en cómo resolver esas problemáticas. Eso yo creo que es nuestra mayor aportación, solo ofrecer las herramientas para que las personas puedan tener una voz digital, puedan tener una mayor participación en sus comunidades y logren finalmente hacer una diferencia en sus vidas, en sus familias y en sus comunidades. La idea es que todos tengan las oportunidades para seguir creciendo y hacer lo que quieren hacer.
Other Mexican organizations are also promoting non-state education alternatives.
The Telmex Foundation, a charity created with endowments from the Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim, sponsors education technology centers around the country. Moises Garay, director of an EdTech pilot project at Foundation Telmex, shared with me the primary benefits of these physical technology centers.
La ventaja que ofrecemos sobre otras plataformas en línea o MOOC es que hay personas que quizás no tienen el equipo para conectarse, un equipo propio o una conectividad a internet. Entonces nosotros ofrecemos no solo un lugar, sino también pues un equipo y una conexión de 10 gigas.
Moises shared that the obstacles his center faces with promoting technology use in education are related not just to access, but culture.
pero en general creo que debe hacerse un esfuerzo de acompañamiento desde la cultura digital, ¿no? Desde generar desde los niños una cultura digital, ¿no? Que vaya de la mano de la educación tradicional, ¿no? Porque no serviría de mucho ofrecer cursos en línea si las personas no tienen una computadora o si no tienen cursos, si no tienen internet en su casa, ¿no? Hay lugares donde precisamente se han llevado recursos tecnológicos, pero no se pueden usar en su capacidad plena porque no existe la cultura de para qué se usa, cómo se usa una computadora, qué es lo que cómo puedo navegar, para qué puedo usar las redes sociales, cómo puedo buscar contenido de valor en internet. Entonces creo que es una combinación, pero creo que hay que empezar por apoyar la cultura digital.
Lack of a supportive culture, one that understands and values technology, particularly for social change, could be a big obstacle to EdTech adoption.
Simple institutional resistance to change might be another. Italy native Ilaria Zambotti is a language teacher and owner of a coffee shop where I spent many of my afternoons working. Ilaria shared with me some of her struggles as a tech-savvy teacher in Mexico.
Then I worked for 1 year as a primary school teacher, teaching in a kind of bilingual school. So they had 4 hours of Spanish every day and 2 hours of English every day. And there, again, it was like jumping back to the Middle Ages, you know? Children would come here, we are talking about 6, 7 years old, with their own iPad, where they would talk about stuff that they do online at home. But we wouldn't even have a course book. We would have to create our own material and print out 56 copies every day, or get some worksheet from an ex-book and photocopy them, 56 pages every day. And the school did have a virtual learning environment that nobody knew how to use, okay? So can you start seeing the contradiction?
Private by now?
Yes, very expensive one. I wouldn't say top range, but I would say middle high. So you would expect that to be completely different. And no, again, I found the same resistance, which is people are just, I think it has to do with power. When people start having power, they are scared of losing their power, and instead of seeing you as a tool, they see you as a threat to what they do and how they have been doing it for the last 20 years. Okay?
Ilaria directed an EdTech program at a British university for multiple years before moving to Mexico City. In the 3 countries in which Ilaria has taught, she's encountered some common EdTech oversights.
What I found across countries, okay, you have the typical IT room. Yeah, so you have individual working session, and then either an interactive whiteboard or a blackboard or a screen, something you can use the projector with. All right? But you wouldn't have curtains in the room. I'm like, is it possible? I've seen it in 3 different countries, Italy, England, and Mexico. You know, you do a super duper wannabe, fantastic, state-of-the-art room, and you don't think of the basic. I mean, what's worth having a screen which is as big as a wall when you can't see it?
This sort of misalignment of education priorities was a common theme in my investigations.
For example, as part of his 2012 campaign platform, President Peña Nieto promised to deliver laptops to all 5th and 6th grade public school students. Over 240,000 personal laptops have been delivered to students thanks to Nieto's promise, but the program is experiencing major problems due to failing school infrastructure or simple design oversights like lack of an accompanying laptop maintenance program.
In Nieto's EdTech program, it seems that the instant gratification of implementation overshadowed pragmatic planning.
In both my research and my conversations with locals, the most commonly mentioned enemy of Mexican EdTech adoption was not a lack of internet access or digital culture.
It was corruption. I was told time and time again that education progress would be impossible, or at least painfully slow, as long as the current system of corruption exists.
Yo creo que la inversión en México, lo que no está funcionando es precisamente a través de toda la corrupción que hay. O sea, si ese dinero que está destinado a educación se aplicara realmente a educación, yo creo que no tendríamos problema.
Mario Caudillo is a Mexican educator with over 30 years of experience working in public schools. Mario is an assistant principal in the morning at one elementary school and a 6th grade teacher at a different school in the afternoon. I interviewed Mario at his afternoon school, where he spoke to me about his school's struggles with both corruption and technology access.
Una de las situaciones aquí, haciendo una encuesta precisamente con mi grupo nada más, estoy hablando de un grupo de 30 alumnos que tengo, de los cuales solamente 10 tienen computadoras en casa. Imagínate, tengo 20, 10 de 30, 10 de 30, sí. Pero de esos 20 restantes, la mayoría de ellos tienen la situación de que los papás trabajan todo el día. No tienen la posibilidad tan fácil de acceder a una computadora porque no les alcanza el dinero para poderla comprar. Ejemplo, de estos 10 que yo te menciono que sí tienen, 2 de ellos al menos sí conozco el caso que los papás estuvieron ahorrando por cerca de 6 meses para poder comprar una computadora de uso.
Mario expressed frustration over the investment priorities of the government and how money never seemed to arrive untouched by mordidas, which are the illegal bribes that officials demand for government functions. Though scheduled to receive personal tablets from the government for all of its 5th graders next year, Mario's school struggles to address basic infrastructure needs.
Otra, invertir en la infraestructura. Ahorita estás viendo, ¿no? Hoyos en el piso, salones que no tienen cortinas, no tienen algunos vidrios, los baños están en condiciones a veces insalubres realmente. Aquí tenemos el sistema de bebederos, no se les ha dado mantenimiento. ¿Sí? Y todo esto que implica gastos no lo absorbe el gobierno, lo absorben los padres de familia de las instituciones. ¿Sí?
Hay dos salones que con el sismo que fue como por el mes de enero-febrero, se colapsaron. Y desde entonces están con que, no, es que era urgente. Es más, desalojaron a los niños y los tuvieron en condiciones, te voy a enseñar en dónde estuvieron trabajando, en qué condiciones trabajaron. Y al final les dijeron, no, regrésense y sigan trabajando ahí. Y que ya ahorita en este receso los van a tirar y los van a construir. Pero eso ya tenemos, estoy hablando del año pasado, sino de este año. Entonces llevamos un año esperando que el gobierno venga a cambiar salones, que es un riesgo porque las losas están totalmente colapsadas.
Facing such systemic education problems, is Mexico ready for EdTech? Maybe. Though in my research I learned a lot about the struggles in Mexican education, I also met inspiring leaders from a variety of sectors who are working hard to fight corruption and advocate for EdTech innovation. The widespread fiery debates surrounding Mexico's 2013 education reforms are proof of the importance of education to Mexican leaders on all points of the political spectrum. Mexicans care deeply about education. Yet before delivering individual laptops to students, before spending gobs of money on massive open online courses, Mexican educators should ensure that basic school infrastructure needs are met. Then comes internet access. Next, promoting open data and other transparency movements to fight systemic corruption. Ultimately, I think the EdTech question for Mexico is less about what education technology to develop and deliver, and more about how to create an accountable, culturally supported system that can truly utilize EdTech for those who need it most.
En México hay mucho trabajo por hacer, en Latinoamérica también. Me parece que hay muchas formas de tener una intervención educativa, pero lo importante es llevar estas herramientas a donde más se necesitan, a las comunidades rurales, a las comunidades en las periferias de las grandes ciudades, donde está la mayor concentración de personas que tienen menores recursos, porque ahí hay un potencial tremendo de impulsar nuevas iniciativas, de crear nuevas soluciones a los problemas de este país, y finalmente es un talento que está ahí, y simplemente acercar un curso o acercar una herramienta a estas personas puede crear un montón de soluciones, pues, para los problemas de cada día.
My tongue and stomach both denounce your efforts to